Bonjour les étudiants and welcome to this video on le passé composé avec être. Now remember, if you've already watched the one on avoir, then that's good. If you haven't watched that yet, go ahead and watch the one on avoir first because I give you some explanations on le passé composé in general, and you need those if we're going to jump into le passé composé avec être. Why? Because être is a little bit more complicated. So, like I said, you haven't watched avoir yet, go watch avoir and then come back. So, I'm assuming the rest of you have already listened to the avoir one, so you're ready for être. Now, just like the passé composé avec avoir, this is a way of talking about things that have happened in the past where there's a beginning and a definite end. Now, the other thing that you need to know is that the ones with être are a little bit different than the ones with avoir. You see, avoir is pretty much everything in general. So if it's a past tense, then there you go. It's mostly avoir. However, être is only for specific things. These usually have to do with motion or states of being. So with motion, for example, aller. You're wondering where this one was? It's here. Aller, arriver, descendre, monter, partir, things like that. With states of being, these are things like to be born or to die, mourir. So both of these all go into être. And I actually am going to show you some things that will help you to remember because, like I said, this one's a little bit more complicated. As you can see, this picture has all of the different words that use être in passé composé. Now, I thought this was a fun drawing, so I had to show it to you. So, as you can see, we have people being born, people dying, things coming back, people going up, going down, falling, resting. Well, I guess restir is not exactly resting. It's to stay, sorry. Venir, aller. So here's aller, since we were looking for it. Sortir, entrer, entrer, arriver, partir, all of those things. So basically, if it's movement or if it has to do with life and death, then in general, we use être. So to help us remember this, instead of just remembering the whole up and down and states of being thing, we actually have an acronym that has been used for many, many years and is Dr. and Mr. Vandertramp, or Dr. and Mrs. Vandertramp. Now, as you can see, obviously and doesn't stand for anything, so don't worry about that. But it helps us remember the different verbs that are associated with être in passé composé. Now you might be thinking, this is canon, I don't know if this is really going to help. I'm telling you, I struggled with this. It really does. It really, really does. So just practice it, get familiar with it, and of course remember our general rule of thumb, movement, states of being, it's going to be être. So this is also available on the ELC, so you can easily get a hold of it, or you can find the whole list on page 217 in your book. Now, when it comes to the past participles avec être, there are two things that I want you to know. The first one is some good news. The endings for the past participles are similar to those with avoir. So with our regular verbs, and we have a lot of regulars, it's just going to be er becomes e accent aigu, re becomes u, and er becomes e. So the endings are all going to be similar, thank God. So you'll notice that with arrivé, descendu, resté, parti. However, if you look at these words, you'll also notice something else, and that is the bad news, which is gender and number matter. Yeah, I know. So the gender and number are determined by the subject of the sentence. And the good news, though, is that it's very regular. So if it's feminine, then we're adding an E, or an E, I guess more appropriately en français. And if it's plural, we're adding an S, which means that there are situations in which we add an E and an S. There are some situations in which you don't add either, and there's some situations when you just add an S. So yeah, it's not going to be horrible, I promise. But this is a little bit more tricky because you have to think about it a little bit harder. So I've made some different examples to help you out, and so let me walk you through those real quick. So the first one, as you can see, I have je, tu, nous, vous, and il and elle to help us out here. So the first one is je suis allé, which basically would come out to I went somewhere. Now you'll notice that because I am feminine, I've added an extra E here. So typically it's just aller, which as you'll see is actually a regular ER thing. I mean, talk about nice. And because I'm a woman, I'm going to add an E. There we go. Now, if you're a guy, then it's just aller. You just leave it alone. And if it were plural, if we were talking about we went, nous sommes allés, then it could be aller avec un S. Or if it's just a bunch of girls, it'll be aller avec un extra E and an S. Yeah, I know, it's a little much, but I promise it's okay. I promise, I promise, I promise. This is all the complication that you're going to run into, and it's really regular throughout. So it's going to be okay. Just take a deep breath. All right. Now our next example is arriver, which is a regular ER verb. So as you notice, we have the E accent aigu added on here, and we're assuming in this one that du is masculine. So since du is masculine, we just leave it as arriver. Voila. Not too bad. Now, nous sommes descendus, you'll notice nous, of course, is plural. And because it's plural, we need to add an S. So it becomes descendu, and as you can see, we don't say the S, but it is physically there. With vous, notice it's also plural. So again, we add the S at the end. Now in both of these, it's not told whether or not the person or people are masculine or feminine. And remember, the feminine only applies if everybody is a woman. So at least we've got that going on our side. So most of the time you'll just put in S, so no worries. Now with il, this is they, but remember this is masculine, which means it could be me, Madame Cannon, and my husband and his brothers and my brother. But because, even though I'm feminine, I get lumped in with the guys, so as long as there's one guy in the group, it stays il, and so we just add an S. Ils sont partis. So not too bad. Now with the last one, you'll notice it's elles. Now this specifically says it's just girls, so it's just feminine and it's plural. So elles sont venues. Now you'll notice, this is venir actually, if you were wondering, venir. But as you can see, because it's feminine, I added the E. Because it's elle, which is completely feminine, there are no guys involved, not even my cat, who's a boy, is allowed. And an S, because of course it's plural. Now like I said, I know this part's difficult, and I know this part is kind of frustrating, but I promise, if you practice it, if you just take some time every time you're writing and really think about it, it's not nearly as bad as it sounds. So if you have questions, if you need help, if you want extra practice, if you just need somebody to hug you because it's difficult sometimes, I am here for you guys. So no worries, you're going to get through this. And just think, if you can get over this milestone, this will prepare you for so many more complicated things in French and in other languages, and in English too. So, like I said, if you need anything, let me know. Et bonne journée!